Can everyone see my screen? Or the
Yes.
PowerPoint? Can see it? All right. Okay, let's gonna get started. So again, I'm Yvonne Bui, and we are from San Francisco State University, which is very close to you all. And here we go. Okay, so our agenda today is obviously introduce ourselves and then talk about our programs, our minor program, and also our credential programs, because I know you are probably all in various stages of your educational career. Some of you have maybe, ready to transfer over. Some of you are just starting. Actually, it would give me a good sense of where people are in their program. Tracy, do you have that information, or how do we get that information?
I don't have that information about everybody.
Okay, but in general, where
So the students who are coming, who registered for the workshop,
yes.
Well, it's anyone from across the Bay. So it could be students from all different colleges. I would guess that most people are in the process of earning their associate's degree.
Okay.
So
great.
I would assume that people are, it went out a little wider, so it might be something else, but that's what I think. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will leave some time for questions at the end in case you have some burning questions. And then of course we have the evaluation and the certificate of attendance. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording the session and we will share that with the Teach for the Bay presenters, organizers. We'd like you to mute your microphone while we are presenting, but of course, if you have a question, you would unmute yourself. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function, or you can put it into the chat. I will try and monitor that, and Chelsea will monitor that for as long as she's able to stay here. And then hopefully this won't happen, but we will have to remove you if you have any inappropriate behavior, but I doubt that will happen. So, okay. And as I mentioned before, I'm Yvonne Bui. I'm a professor at San Francisco State. I'm the chairperson of the department. And I'm also an alumni of the program. I think I forget to mention that I actually got my credential, both my general ed and my special ed credential, and my master's degree in this exact same program in the department from which I chair. So it's been very full circle for me, coming back to San Francisco State many years later, first as a student and then as an adjunct faculty member when I was teaching in the school district, and now as the chair of the department. So that's me. And I've been in the chair this is my 7th year as the chair of San Francisco State's Department of Special Education. Chelsea, you want to give a little bit of introduction?
Yeah, sure. Again, my name is Chelsea Prieto. I am the admin support coordinator for the Department of Special Education. That title kind of just means I'm the catch-all for everything. So if there's any general questions that you have, I'm kind of happy to help you with that, or at least send you to the right person. I also handle admissions for this department. So if you're like a little bit down the line and you're ready to apply for a graduate program, feel free to just, let me know what your questions are, and I can definitely talk about admissions requirements or like what your next steps would be potentially. Happy to be here, guys.
Thank you, Chelsea. Yes, so Chelsea does all of we do our own, we work with the university to do admissions for our department, but it's a very smooth and streamlined process because we do it in-house. So Chelsea is the person who helps all the students with the application materials, setting up interviews with the faculty members. We'll talk a little bit about that more. And then answering any general questions. You can email, you can call. We're in the office twice a week in person. You can come by and make an appointment to come by and see us. Okay. All right. So the first program that we want to talk about is the minor. So if you are coming in to San Francisco State as a transfer student, meaning that you would come in as a junior, or even if you're coming in, freshman or sophomore, but most of our transfers come in as juniors, we highly recommend that you minor in special education. We don't have a major in special education. We actually, in California, many years ago, they did not allow to have a major in education. And so most of the students who wanted to be teachers, they majored in something like liberal studies or child development, or psychology or some other BA or BS program, but there was no actual major in education. There are very few programs in California that today even have a major in education, and even fewer that have a major in special education. So we did what we think is the next best thing to having a major, is having a minor in special education. And our minor is actually one of the most popular minors on our campus, and it runs across all. The great thing about having a minor is that you can major in any field, right? So we have students from all over campus taking our classes and taking our minors. So you can be an education, I mean, it's not education, you can be an adolescent development major, you could be liberal studies, you could be social welfare, you could be business even. So we draw from across the entire campus. So it's a very interdisciplinary approach to special education. It is 15 units, which translates to 5 classes. And the focus of all the classes, or at least the core values within all of those classes, is diversity, inclusion, and social justice, right? That's really at the heart of what our program, what our department stands for, and the type of society that we want to build for individuals with disabilities. We have over 20 minor courses every semester. As I mentioned, we draw from all over campus, and all of our faculty who teach in the minor are experienced special educators in their particular discipline. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those disciplines. Okay, so if you're an undergrad at San Francisco State, we highly recommend that you take the minor in special education. And the great thing about minors at San Francisco State is that you can use a minor course to meet a lot of the other requirements, graduation requirements that you have on campus. So for example, all of our minor courses also meet GE requirements, right? So they're called upper division GE, and they're in B, C, and D. And I won't go into those specific details, but every one of our courses in our minor selection meets one of those GE courses. So you can take our course as a GE and you can take it as a minor. It's like double counting. You can even triple count, because another requirement that we have at San Francisco State is something called San Francisco State Studies requirements. And those are different types of courses that you have to take. For example, one of the SF Studies requirements is called environmental sustainability. We have a course that also meets that requirement. So again, if you take our special ed minor, you can actually fulfill having a minor, which is fantastic on your transcript, because it means you've also specialized in another field. But it also can fulfill your GE requirements, and it can fulfill your SF State Studies requirements. Okay. And as I mentioned, it's 5 courses for the minor. We have 3 required courses, and then students can choose 2 electives. And I'll show you the whole list of classes that we offer. We also offer 2 American Sign Language courses. So American Sign Language 1 and American Sign Language 2. Okay. And here are the list of courses that we offer, and then you can see after it which GE it meets. UD means upper division, and that means it's a GE requirement. And then the thing behind it, whether it says SJ or ES or GP, that's the SF Studies requirements that I was talking about. And so all undergrads have to fulfill these requirements. So right now, this is the list of courses that we have in our minor. As I mentioned, there are 3 required courses. One is the Introduction to Disabilities. That course is also a community service learning course, which means there are 20 hours of community service that students have to do with working directly with individuals with disabilities. And then SPED 675 is a course where it's a course called Partnering with Families of Children with Disabilities. As you may know, when you work with kids with disabilities, working with the family is almost as important as it is working directly with the student. So that's a really important component of our program. And then SPED 630 is called inclusive education, right? As I mentioned earlier, one of our core values that we strive to achieve is to have an inclusive society where individuals with disabilities are integrated completely into mainstream education, work, social life, recreation, every aspect of what we would consider quality of life. We want to include individuals with disabilities as equal partners and contributing members. And so that course is around how we have more inclusive educational practices in our school settings and our early childhood settings as well. And then you see there's a variety of other electives in different areas, from visual impairment, young children, orientation and mobility, deaf and hard of hearing, autism. And then we have another course that we've actually included from the history department, and it's disability and culture in the United States. And so that's around disability studies. So we're always trying to add more courses into the minor as electives. And so students can choose, what they are interested in and what specific discipline they want to pursue. Okay. All right. So that's the minor. And then these are, some of the benefits, just really having that theoretical framework and also some practical experience with individuals with disabilities, having that deeper understanding of what it means to have a disability in our society today, and how individuals with disabilities are presented in the media and in journal articles and the news and entertainment and everywhere else in the world. One really exciting program that we're going to start offering, we're in the process now of getting these approved, final approval, is this SF State Scholars Program. So hopefully by the time you're able to enter our program, these will be up and running. And what these are is it's a blended program where you can get sort of all in one package. You can get your bachelor's degree, your credential, and your master's degree in one program. So instead of, let's say, getting your bachelor's degree and then going on to get your credential and your master's, which is the traditional route, we are presenting a new pathway called SF Studies, where our scholars, these particular scholars, will be allowed to take graduate courses while they are an undergrad. And what that means is that you will save time and money, about a year's worth of tuition and time, because you're taking some grad courses while you're an undergrad, and you would be paying undergrad tuition, which is cheaper than graduate tuition. But at the end of the program, you would have both, or actually three things. You'd have your credential, your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and your credential. So this is brand new, and we hope to launch this in the fall of 2022, just in time for you to come in. And we will be partnering with the Child and Adolescent Development Department on campus, which is maybe some of you came from that program, or from that presentation, the CAD program. And we'll be partnering with the Department of Kinesiology for our orientation and mobility program. Okay, so if you want more information about that, Chelsea is available to answer questions around that, but it's not quite ready yet, but it's being hatched right now, and it should be ready by next fall. And we're really, really excited about it. We will be the only program at state and perhaps within the whole CSU system that is going to offer really a 3-in-1, right? The BA, the credential, and the master's together in one program. And that is available to transfer students and to students coming in as freshmen as well. Although you don't start that program until you are a junior. Actually, before I go on, because I'm ready to transition to graduate and credential programs, are there questions about the minor or that part of the program before we go into the graduate end? Any questions about the undergraduate program? I don't know if I can see. I don't think I can see. Oh.
There is a question in the chat.
Thank you.
What if in the middle of the program I decide not to continue for the master's? Would it affect my bachelor's degree or the credential?
Is that if you're referring to the SF State Studies program? That's a really, really good question. I don't know the answer to that question. Of course, when you finish your units for your bachelor's degree, it would be, you need 120 units to graduate to get a bachelor's degree. You can always apply for the bachelor's degree. The master's degree is another 30 units. So that the credential is actually more units than the master's. So you would actually be finishing your master's before the credential. It's a little bit backwards, if you will, because the credential typically requires about 50 units and the master's is 30 units. So most likely, if you were to finish or not finish, it would be not finishing your credential, not necessarily your master's, because and it's really hard to tease them out because it's going to be such a blended program. Yeah, we would really try to ensure that you finish all three pretty much at the same time, or at least the master's and the credential at the same time. The bachelor's degree, you would already have finished the units for that, so you're eligible to graduate and go on with your bachelor's degree. But that's a really, really good question. Any other questions I can answer around the minor or anything with the undergraduate before I move on to the graduate? All good? Chelsea, we're all good? Okay, great. Sorry, I can't see. Okay, so we have many programs in special education. We're the largest department in the Graduate College of Education. We are probably one of the largest departments of special education in California and within the CSU system, because we offer so many credentials in one department. So we have a master's degree in special education. We have one master's degree, right? So everyone who comes to get our master's degree, we're all under the same degree. Within that degree, we have several what we call interest areas, and also they align with our credential programs. So we have 5 credential programs right now. We used to have 7, but now we're down to 5. We have the early childhood special education, which is ECSE. We have mild to moderate support needs, and I'll explain what these different credentials are. We have extensive support needs, visual impairment, and orientation and mobility, which is our rehab clinical services credential. Okay, so you have to think about our department as sort of the umbrella is that everyone sits under the master's degree in special education, and then or a big giant tree. Imagine a big giant, it's not a pine tree, but like an oak tree. And then there's different branches of credential programs / interest areas, 5 giant branches, if you will. Okay, so this in one of these, or in these 5 particular areas. So when a student comes into our department and they want to apply into our department, remember, we are a graduate. Besides the minor, all of these other programs sit in our graduate program. Okay, so you'd become a graduate student. So I know that some of you are, if you haven't finished your bachelor's degree, that's okay. But you have to sort of think about, okay, once I finish my bachelor's degree, this would be the next step. So you do this, you want to apply and do this sort of the year or the semester that you are, finishing your bachelor's degree. So we allow students to come into our graduate programs under 3 pathways, if you will, or 3 plans. The first one is a master's degree in special education and a credential program. So that's our blended program. We're very unique in San Francisco, at San Francisco State and in the state, that we offer a blended program, meaning students are getting their master's and their credential at the same time. And I'll talk a bit about the benefits of having that, of doing that. The second pathway is a Master of Arts in Special Education only, right? You're only getting the master's degree, that 30 units that I was talking about. And then the third program plan is getting only the credential. Now that's allowed only if you already have a master's degree. Because we're a graduate program, we do not enroll students into our program unless they already have we don't enroll them into our credential program unless they already have a master's degree or a doctorate. Otherwise, you can choose between the blended program, the MA plus cred, or the MA only. And as it's mentioned here, we provide roadmaps for every area, right? So several years ago, we moved to a roadmap system where every student, when you come in, you get a faculty advisor, but you also get a roadmap really clearly laying out exactly what classes you need to take and when. And that roadmap aligns with our schedule, right? So it's not, what we've taken out are all the conflicts, all the double like required courses that you need at, being taught at the same time on the same day. We've taken all that out. And so that the roadmap, if you're following the roadmap, you have a very smooth, streamlined process. You're not going to waste time. You're not going to waste money. I mean, our goal is to get students prepared in our department to be the best special educators they're going to be, and then launch you into the field where the real critical shortages are. Okay, we don't want to keep you sort of languishing in our department and our program for years and years and years without meeting your intended goal. In California, the law from CTC, which is the Commission for Teaching Credentialing, you cannot teach in any special education setting without a credential. Okay, so even if you have a master's degree, you cannot teach in an early childhood special ed setting, like an early intervention center or preschool for infants and toddlers with disabilities. You can't teach in an elementary school or a secondary, grades 6 through 12. You have to have a credential. That is the law. So that's for us, that's the baseline to get that credential. Having the master's on top of the credential opens even more doors for you, because with the master's degree, you're actually able to, most districts pay more if you have a master's degree, right? Your pay salary is higher if you have a terminal degree, but you can also teach at the community college level. You can adjunct at a 4-year university. I think I mentioned when I first started at San Francisco State, I was teaching during the day with kids in my classroom. And then during the evening with my master's degree, I was teaching at San Francisco State, preparing new teachers. So having a master's degree really, it really does give you more opportunities that you may want to pursue. And it may launch you into getting a doctorate, right? When I got my credential and my master's, I never thought I would, that was it. I was done. I was done with school. And then having that master's allowed me to go even further and get my doctorate, my PhD. So having a master's is a really, I think, sort of a first step in opening up just a wide, vast array of opportunities for students. So it's not something you would ever regret having. As my father used to always say, no one can take that away from you. No one can take your education away from you. So we really pride ourselves that we give opportunities to students to access having a master's degree in special education. And of course, the credential, which allows you to then actually, work and teach in the school district or an early intervention site. And I'm sorry, there's like sirens going off, my dog is going crazy, like there's so much noise here. I can't even hear myself. Okay, so I mentioned that there were 5 credential areas. The first one is our early childhood special education. And if you went to the CAD workshop earlier, they would have talked about this program. We work very closely with the CAD department. A lot of their students take our minor classes, and then some of our students come on when they finish that program, they come into our program to get their credential and master's. So the early childhood special education is birth to kindergarten. It used to be birth to preschool, and now the commission has changed it. And so it includes birth to kindergarten. And it's designed for professionals, educators who want to work with young children, right? Infants, toddlers, and all the way up to kindergartens, young children who have disabilities. And inevitably, when you work with young children with disabilities, you really work with their families quite closely. Okay, so this is one of our credential programs. There are 2 student teaching placements in this credential. There's one where you student teach with infants and toddlers, and that's usually in a medical setting, a clinic. And then the other one is the pre-K / kindergarten placement. So we work with our students to find them an appropriate placement. You have a supervisor that we hire to make sure that you are proceeding well in your student teaching placement. And then you're also working with what we call a cooperating teacher on the other, at the site. So it's like that triangular support that you would have in any of our credential programs. So this is one of the areas that you might be interested in. And we have fantastic faculty who run this program and coordinate this program as well. Okay. And in terms of disabilities for the early childhood special education, that runs the full gamut of all types of disabilities. It's really the age group that is sort of characteristic of this particular credential. The next credential we have is the mild to moderate support needs, mild to MM. And this is kindergarten through grade 12. So this is a credential that allows the person to work all the way teaching either elementary school, middle school, or high school, right? So it's a bit different than the early childhood special ed that was limited to birth to age 5. This one starts from kindergarten. So if you think about those kids who were in the birth to age 5 group, after they finish preschool or pre-K, they will transition to a kindergarten setting, and now this group of teachers might possibly take on those children. So this group of students with disabilities it's very diverse. It's heterogeneous. They have mild to moderate support needs, but it includes students with learning disabilities. It includes language, English learners, or language disabilities. It could include students who have emotional behavior. The legal terminology is emotional disturbances. We find that to be quite stigmatizing, and so it's not a term that we love to use, but it is the federal legal term. So students with emotional behavior difficulties, speech and language disabilities, or visual and auditory processing, and also mild intellectual disabilities. So you can see it's a really diverse group of children and youth, and they are in different types of school settings. They can be in what we call a special day class, where you have one class and maybe 10 to 12 kids, and they all have learning disability, mild to moderate support needs, and they're all together. They can be in an RSP situation, which is called a resource specialist program, where they're coming to meet with the special ed teacher, once a day or once a week or twice a week. And so you're working with small groups, and then they're going back into their other setting. Or they could be fully included in a general ed classroom, and you would push in your services to support the general ed teacher, or you would co-teach with that general ed teacher to support the students in the general ed setting. So there's different ways to deliver the service with this credential. And you can see there, because it's such a diverse group of students, it really depends on what the needs are for that student. At the middle school and high school level, you could be teaching, algebra for students with learning disabilities. And that would be a different class than the, the other mainstream algebra class. So that's another class, or English, or social studies, or what have you. So it could be also a content area teacher, co-teaching with, another general ed teacher. There's one student teaching placement for this credential. Okay. All right. The next program that we have is called Extensive Support Needs. And this used to be called Moderate to Severe Disabilities. And now CTC has changed the name of this credential to the Extensive Support Needs. And if you think about what I just mentioned with our mild to moderate students, or mild to moderate support needs, and you think about a range of support, now we're sort of going down or up the spectrum, if you will, of students who need more support, right? So the disability itself might be the same. Let's say it's a student with autism. It's the same disability. They would be in the same disability category, but the students in this particular credential area have more support needs, right? They may be nonverbal, or they may have more behavior issues, or they may have more cognitive issues. Oops, hold on. Sorry. So it's not necessarily a different disability. It again goes back to what does the student need, right? Some students in the extensive support needs area have more physical. They might have more physical disabilities that are concurrent with a cognitive disability. They might have a more intense intellectual disability. And it also includes students who are deaf and blind. Okay, so we also work with students, or they have multiple disabilities, right? They have 1 or 2 or 3 disabilities, maybe even a health impairment that's happening. This, because of the needs, the intense needs of these students, this credential program actually has 2 field work and student teaching placements, because it really is, you need to have very intense hands-on experience and preparation to be successful working with students with extensive support needs. And so this is one of our, I would say, one of our smaller programs, because the need for the student teaching placement and supervision is very high. We also work in this area with, as I mentioned before, we want the students to be in inclusive environments to the maximum extent possible, right? So they should be in what we call the least restrictive environment with their general ed peers, as much as possible, as much as appropriate for that student. And that's different for every student, depending on his or her needs. Okay. The next program we have is visual impairment. And this is birth to age 22. And this is working with individuals who are visually impaired, or deafblind, or have low vision. Okay, so this is a very unique program. And one part that's very, very unique about it is that you learn Braille in this program, but you also learn how to teach literacy and math and all the other content areas through Braille, because that is the medium that the students with the visual impairments are using. And there's a lot of technology and assistive technology that's in this program, because that's also one of the major tools, instructional tools that students with visual impairments need to use to be successful. The other unique part of this program is that it's all distance, right? So when San Francisco State, because of the COVID pandemic, we all had to go online and go through Zoom. Our VI program had been online and on Zoom for many years. So they're very experienced teaching and learning through Zoom, through the distance learning format. So we draw students from all over the state for this program. All of the courses are on Zoom, and there are face-to-face lab weekends. So students will come into San Francisco State or the California School for the Blind in Fremont, and they work in person for a lab weekend, and then they go back and go back to their classes online. So it's a very unique program, and there's one student teaching placement for the VI credential. The last credential program we have is orientation and mobility, and this is the lifespan. This goes birth through adulthood, right? So you're not actually necessarily in a school or classroom setting because it's a rehab clinical services credential. It's not an education specialist credential. But here you're working with individuals who are blind or visually impaired, and you're teaching them how to navigate their environment and how to orient themselves, how to be independent, using transportation, grocery shopping, living skills in the home, anything that you can imagine you would have to do if you were not able to use your vision as a sensory mode. And there's also some guide dog training as well. Because this is a birth through adult program, there are 2 student teaching placements. One is with children and one is with adults. And many of our graduates actually end up not working in the school district. They actually end up working for private clinics, or they work for the VA hospital. We do work with a lot of vets who have visual impairments, or in a medical setting for individuals who in their lifetime, get some type of visual disease and they lose their sight. And so they have to learn how to be able to be mobile independently. So you may, if you're walking around Stonestown on the weekends or the BART station, you may have seen our students with their their long sticks and their blindfolds, and they're actually learning out in the field how to navigate all the environment around us. And you can imagine living in San Francisco where there's pretty congested areas, how difficult and how challenging that would be. And this program is also unique because it runs on Fridays and Saturdays. All of our other programs run Monday through Thursday. And this one is what we call our weekend program. It's also our shortest program. Okay, so those were the 5 programs that I mentioned, the credential programs. I'm going to let Chelsea talk about how do you get to be, or what are the mission requirements, or what are the steps, because it can be a little bit confusing. So I'm going to let Chelsea break this down a little bit.
Okay, so thanks. Okay, so essentially, in order to even start our graduate program, except if you're an SF Scholars student, by the way, this is for everybody else, you do need to have a bachelor's degree by the time you start the program. So even if you're in your last semester of your undergraduate, you can still apply for our program as long as your degree is posted by the time that you start the graduate program. And that's kind of step 1 there, graduate from a bachelor's degree program. And then you also want to make sure that you have at least a 3.0 minimum GPA. Graduate programs do take GPA into account. SF State specifically, at least for our department, we do consider students who are maybe below a 3.0. We do have a little bit of leeway there, but try to maintain a high GPA so you have a really competitive application. This kind of applies to if you're applying to other schools or other programs. Keeping that GPA up is really important. Step 2 is determine which credential program area that you are interested in. So we kind of talked a lot about different programs and different areas. But essentially, whatever speaks to you, definitely look into that. And we're happy to connect you with a program coordinator to kind of talk more about what that might look like, or what the field looks like when you're out there. And that kind of also is really important, because once you're in that credential program, you can switch technically, but this is going to be what you're teaching. This is the population that you'll be working with for a good amount of your time. So you really want to make sure that this is something that you want to do. And that kind of ties into forming your resume, your personal statement, just because you want to reflect your interest in why do you want to pick this specific area. In addition to that, but some of our requirements include 2 letters of recommendation. These can be academic or professional. So if you work as a paraeducator, if you work closely with a teacher, anything like that, that also works as a recommendation letter. But in addition to that, you also need to complete something called the early field experience. And this is just 45 hours of in classroom or direct experience working with students who might have special needs. So right now, with everything going on in the world, we are waiving this requirement, but in the future, maybe this might come back. So it's good to just be aware of that. But volunteer hours count, work hours count, anything along those lines. And if you have any questions about how to go about that, or if you're not sure if your experience counts, you can always reach out to us to verify. Another thing that's really important to think about, or not think about, but you have to do, basically, we have to make sure that you pass a background check, at least with the California CTC, because before you can step into a classroom, we have to make sure you're allowed in a classroom. So basically, you do need to get fingerprinted and then get a document with the California CTC. And that's something that you can do either while you're working with your bachelor's degree or getting your bachelor's degree, or like kind of towards the end, whenever you're getting ready to prepare to apply for programs. After you submit all of these items and then kind of apply for whatever programs that you're interested in, the next step looks like it's the interview. So all of our students or applicants go through a program interview with a program faculty. So let's say that you're applying for the early childhood special education program, you'll have an interview with a faculty member from that area. And that's a really good opportunity for you to kind of get to know the program, to kind of ask questions about the program, see if it's a good fit, and whether or not, like, it's not just us seeing if you're a good fit, it's also for you to kind of get the chance to see, oh, is this kind of the environment or the culture that I feel I would, thrive in a graduate setting. And then also step 5, the big one, there are a bunch of testing that people need to kind of take into consideration. Currently, the California CTC does have some testing requirements. They did just recently allow some flexibilities with that. I won't go into too much detail just because it's completely new. We're still fleshing that out here at SF State. But basically, some of the testing may be met by taking courses, by earning a bachelor's degree in certain areas. So, if you are specifically like interested in teaching or becoming a special educator in the future, definitely talk to us about like what you can do or what like majors are the best kind of fit for that. Just because we don't want you to miss out on any opportunities along those lines, especially if you're going to be coming into SF State, we want to align you with the right advisors and with the right people. But essentially, if you are pretty sure you want to be a special educator, or at least that you're kind of really, really interested in teaching, liberal studies is a really good major to have. Child adolescent development is a really good major to have. And both of these are potentially going to count towards waiving some of the testing here. If you are not coming to a California university for whatever reason, that's also okay. You can just go and opt in for the testing if that's kind of what you prefer to do. The basic skills requirement is something that all of our credential applicants have to do. So whether you're going to orientation mobility, early childhood, mild to moderate, you do need to meet the basic skills requirement. And that you can meet that through various ways, like the CBEST exam, or some people use their SAT or ACT scores as long as they qualify, things like that. The subject matter competency requirement is only required for anyone who wants to do mild to moderate, extensive support, or visual impairment. And this is typically met by the CSET exam. Not sure how familiar you guys are with the testing acronyms right now, but that's going to be either the CSET multiple subjects or a CSET single subject. Again, I won't go into too much detail about this, but just be aware that you have to, if you're going to use courses or your degree to meet this requirement, your degree does have to match like a corresponding CSET exam. So for example, if you're not going the liberal studies route, you can be a Spanish major, and then that would waive the CSET Spanish, for example, and that would count towards our requirements. Or for example, if you're interested in becoming an art major, that also counts. You can major in art, and then potentially that could count towards the CSET single subject in art, and that would waive the subject matter competency requirement. It's a little confusing. It's a lot of information right now. So just feel free to just check in with us about that kind of thing. But yeah, those are kind of the major steps in admissions. Are there any questions so far? I do see a question about volunteer hours for early field experience. As of right now, I don't know who's offering volunteer experience just because of COVID restrictions and all of that. But we did keep a list on our website, pretty, what is it, updated when we did have kind of schools and organizations open. So if we do require the early field experience again, we'll have that posted on our website.
Yeah, but if you are working in a school setting now, if you're a paraprofessional, that would count as well. But yes, but just because of COVID, many things were either put on hold or they were suspended or they were waived. And so that's one of the things that was waived by CTC. We don't know when that requirement is coming back, however. It may be coming back, maybe not this spring, but maybe next fall. Hopefully things will calm down with COVID. Okay, well, thank you, Chelsea. Chelsea has to run to another information meeting, so she's leaving us. But any information you need, Chelsea is the person to go to, and I have contact information that I can provide as well.
Yeah, feel free to email me with any questions that you guys have. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll hopefully see you guys later.
Thanks, Chelsea. Okay, the other program that I want to mention, this is probably a bit early for you to think about, but we also have an intern credential. And what the intern credential is, students are working as the teacher of record while they're going through our program. We know that it's very expensive to live in the Bay Area. And it's rare if someone's supporting you and you can't, and you don't have to work. That's probably not going to happen. So many of our students actually become what we call intern teachers. And what that means is they're teaching on an intern credential, which allows them to teach for 2 years while they're going through our program before they get their preliminary credential. The requirements are very similar to the regular admissions, except you need to have an offer of employment in a district that we have an agreement with. And then, of course, there's all kinds of testing requirements. But this may be something that, especially if you've been a para for many years and you have a lot of school experience already, or you've been subbing in the classroom, this might be something that you might be interested in. Okay, and we have a coordinator who helps us coordinate all of the intern credential requirements. I want to mention we have funding opportunities, and we know it's expensive to live in San Francisco or the Bay Area. We have some grants that are in specific areas. So for example, Early Childhood Special Education has a grant with the Speech and Language Hearing Sciences Department. It's called Project Grow. We have another project called Project Allies. It's for students who are interested in getting an autism certificate, not a credential, but a certificate. Special ed teachers qualify for the Golden State Teacher Grant, which is amazing. That is given out by the state of California. I think it's federally funded, but you get forgiven for a lot of your student teaching, your student loans if you become a special educator. It's called service obligation that you fulfill, and every year you get money to pay back your student loans. The other thing that we have is we have our own scholarships in our own department. So we have donors who donate to our department and set up scholarships for our students. And right now we have 12 scholarships just for special ed majors in our department, in addition to the regular scholarships that are given out within the Graduate College of Education. And this can really, really help offset, tuition costs for students. I mentioned I was a student in this department, and I remember getting a lot of these scholarships to help me pay for my tuition. There was no way I was going to be able to pay all that. So getting a scholarship is also very, very possible. We try to give as much money as we can to students because we know that's where the need is, especially around COVID. So yeah, we definitely invest in our students and try to give as many scholarships as possible and try to get as many donors to donate to our department so that we can then pass on those monies to students. Okay, are there any questions? If you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand. Oh, I can't, or you just unmute and go ahead and ask because I can't really see the hands either. Any questions? I know it's a lot of information. This is our contact information. Feel free to contact us. We are in the office on Mondays and Wednesdays on campus. You can make an appointment to come by and talk to us in person or talk to Chelsea. And we have another office student professional, Steve, who's in the office as well, who can help. You see our email is there, our phone number. We answer the phone on Mondays and Wednesdays, and our website. If you get a chance to go to our website, let me see if I can do that. I don't know if it'll open up or if you can see it. We have a really, really comprehensive website that we spend a lot of time fixing and trying to make as friendly and informative as possible. But you can, everything I've said, basically you can find here in our programs. It talks about the minor, the master's, certificates, which I didn't mention, and then all of the credentials. And it'll show you exactly, for example, I'll pop up the early childhood credential, and it'll tell you which courses you have to take. You can go to the early childhood website. You know, we also have some program websites. So I would, if you get a chance, go up to our website and really explore, you know, in your own leisure. There's the apply now button. Our deadline for spring's admission cycle is November 1st. And usually for fall, it's like May or sometimes June. And yes, do not forget to put in the certificate. I will. There is also a button for faculty and staff, and you can read our faculty's bios, and you can see the faculty and staff here, and you know, just learn different things about them and what they do. That's Steve, who you didn't get to meet today. And then yeah, so definitely go to, and then if you want to contact us, there's also, you know, you can put stuff in here and it'll go straight to our email, and then we'll be able to contact. We'll be able to get back.
Yvonne, could I just ask if I put the evaluation link in the chat? Yeah, if people could fill out the evaluation for the conference. It's the same for all the workshops, but I mean, it's just one evaluation for the conference, but your feedback is really important to us, so we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, I'm going to put in the chat the certificate of completion. Oops, that's not to the right person. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you got something out of the workshop, and we really appreciate you coming today. Tracy, can you see were you able to open up the
certificate? It looks like it, yeah.
Okay.
It says click to open, so.
Yeah, if you click to open that, it'll download. Yeah. And if you need it, and for whatever reason, just go ahead and email Chelsea, and we can also see Prieto. Can't see it. Okay, Anne-Marie, if you can't see it, go ahead and just email Chelsea, and we can. I'm going to put her email address in the chat.
That's weird. It's in the chat. You don't see any in the chat box, huh? It's under Yvonne, and mine. It's under Yvonne's name.
Yeah, and it said to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it in again. I can find it. Oh, here it is.
I don't know what's happening. I see it. But...
Okay, it's a download, so you're going to have to download it. A PowerPoint. Maybe I should just make it a PDF. I wonder if that would be. You know what? I'll make it as a PDF. Oops. And that might actually make it easier. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, it's a PDF now. Oops, but it only became, how did that happen? Oh, yeah. You can see it? Did everyone see it? Can everyone get it? Is it working?
I don't, I see it again, but, and so someone can see it, Samantha can see it, and I can see it the second time, but others still can't. It's so interesting.
That is so weird. I don't know. What should we do, Tracy?
I think the best thing to do, I guess, is email Chelsea and ask her.
Okay, so
Yeah.
email us. We will email. I apologize. It should work. It's working for some, and I think you need to have a certain program maybe on your computer for it to work. See.
I think Yvonne already pasted in there, but I can try again since I have it. Let me see if I can. So that's a presentation.
Let me see if I can do something again here. Okay, let me try and save it again.
I don't know what it's see what it is called. I have too many certificates on my in my computer, and they're all named the same thing, Teach for the Bay Conference certificate. So I can't really find it, but
Okay,
it's
let me
there
see.
twice in my chat. So can you put Chelsea's email in the chat again?
Yes. Here, let me try one more. Oh, that is a PDF. Hold on. Let me try one more, and then yes, I will definitely put it in.
Thank you.
Okay. I think because it was in a PowerPoint format, it might not have opened, but let me try to put it in here as a PDF. Here we go. Okay, try that one. And if that still doesn't work, just email sped@sfsu.edu. Any alternate route programs in Southern California? No, I'm sorry, we don't have anything. Okay, is that working for everyone? There's a PowerPoint version and then there's a PDF version. If you open the PDF version, that should work. Oh, that is so weird. I don't understand. I'll do it one more try. Okay. All right, if you don't get it, email SPED, email Chelsea, or even email me. Here, I'll put my email. I'll give it to you right now. And we'll get it to you right away, since I have it right on my computer. Okay.